to be talking about several different things. So guys, if you have any questions or anything that you want to add to this conversation, remember the main purpose of everything that we're doing is uplifting brothers while combating and while ending negative isms such as misogyny, toxic masculinity, domestic violence, the rape culture, and gender inequality. So if there is anything that you guys want to bring to the table, definitely let us know. Also, you can be on this with us. As you can see, we're mobile, so we can go wherever the party is, wherever the people are, or you can connect with us online. But either way, we're here for you. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us, okay?
Community work on wheels. I would say Meals on Wheels, but we're not eating or delivering any food, so. Yeah.
So there were some questions. I'm gonna back out to make sure that I stay in contact with everything, because there were a couple of comments that a couple of topics that people wanted to go over. The very first one, let's see. I'm getting there. Okay. We got we put out a filler out there to see what type of things you guys wanted to talk about. And one of the things that I do think is great, the suggestion is, could we have some examples of what positive or healthy masculinity is and what it looks like? What are your thoughts?
And a positive example would be what we're doing right now. I mean, brothers getting together to talk about the issues that affect us, and as a result affect the community. So I would say this is one of the examples, or any kind of fellowship where brothers get together and they really hold each other accountable, and they reflect, and they really talk about and discuss and support each other. All of that is a big, in my opinion, a big glaring example of positive masculinity.
Now, I definitely agree with that. That's what I think it really boils down to, is reshaping and redefining what masculinity looks like. Masculinity can also be nurturing, right, can also be loving, can also be uplifting, but we want to make sure that we're doing that and not ashamed of that. Mm-hmm. So healthy things is also, let's combat that, what it means to be a man. Right. Meaning, you are a man even if you're going through a rough situation. Yep. But check on your brother. Mm-hmm. You know your brother is going through something. Don't say, hey, let that man go through his own struggle. No, lend a helping hand. Be there. Yep. Show them that there is unity. One of the things that we do have to work on, I think, collectively, is showing our unity. Because a lot of us are connected to one another. A lot of us uplift one another, probably in private. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't happen so much publicly. Yeah. And I think if more of us do it publicly to show support, to show camaraderie, that those things will also happen behind closed doors, and it encourage even more people to do the same.
Tara said she can't hear me. I want to talk louder, Tara. Is this better? My bad. I don't like yelling.
And Tara, I can't see this far away from the phone, so he got it. Okay, so we want Cordell to talk up more. So that answered the first one, giving examples of positive or healthy masculinity. If you guys have any suggestions, feel free to put it in the comment. Here's another thing that I think two people suggested. Tori talked about this a little bit. He talked about mentorship in our community. Mm-hmm. And then Tara came back and gave a little bit more substance to that. I'm going to try to go down there so I can get it. It's basically basic civics, how men can impact office and government in their communities, but also pass that same trait on to other men. And so I think that's great mentorship. Mm-hmm. What do you think we can do about that, or what are some ways to make that happen?
Well, quite simply, not say quite simply, but one of the things that does require a lot of planning and effort also as well is just, again, brothers talking to the brothers in their immediate circle. I mean, you can get your friends together and you guys can actually, talk about these issues and invite other brothers that you may not necessarily know as well, but that you're connected to into the fold to discuss these issues. And these brothers don't have to be the same age as you. They could be younger. They could even be older, because all of these issues affect all of us. All the brothers, these issues affect all brothers of all age gaps and all age groups. So that's one of the main things, is just getting together with your brothers. And it could be something as simple as meeting in a park or meeting, at an eating place and having a discussion. That's where it could start.
And I will say this, there are some men who are in government. Mm-hmm. I was impressed. The mayor of Knightdale is a brother, and he's also an African American brother. The former mayor in Spring Lake is a male, and he's also an African American male. But I think that brothers need to equip brothers, period. Right. So if you're in government, if you're in some type of leadership capacity in the government, and we're talking about, it doesn't necessarily have to be a political office. It could be boards. It could be all of that. We actually need that knowledge, because, to be honest, we're starting this organization and we don't know. Yeah. We don't know a lot of the steps. So we're learning as we go along with this. Right. And it would be great if we did have somebody to mentor us. Mm-hmm. If we had an older brother to pour into us. So what we're saying right now, if you are a brother who has knowledge and who have wisdom about politics, finance, any type of leadership development, we even need to be mentored. Word. We need that assistance. We need that help, because it's frustrating to kind of go through things trial by error all the time. Yeah. It would be nice to get things right the very first time. Yeah. Because you've had someone in your corner supporting you and pushing you in that direction. Yeah. Sometimes it is a little discouraging always having to start back over and do it a couple of times until you get it right. Mm-hmm. Whereas you guys have the skill set, you guys have the gift. If you're in those offices, if you work in those capacities, help us. Yeah. Reach out to us. This is also another example, going back to that question. How does positive or healthy masculinity look? This is a perfect example of that. If you are a gentleman who is working in a leadership capacity or position of influence, help us. Yeah. Help us, so we'll show more that, hey, we're empowered by what's going on, and we appreciate you guys empowering us to empower others. Yeah. Fair enough?
Yeah. Positive masculinity is humble and it's inviting. Benjamin Zinnerman said, "What's up, y'all?" What's up, Ben?
Hey, Ben.
What's going on, bro?
How you doing? Now, one of the things that come up a lot, now it actually come up every week. Mm-hmm. I get it in my inbox. I get it a lot of times. We talk about mental health. Right. We were just at a discussion last week with Perfectly Flawed. Mm-hmm. Mental health came up again. Why do you think mental health is an issue amongst men? Like, why do you think it's a taboo topic?
It's a taboo topic simply because in this society, admitting that you struggle with your mental health, or even if you have some kind of issue, it's akin to admitting some kind of weakness. You're less than if you admit that you need help, just help in general. But then if you need help with your mental health, or you need some kind of guidance or some kind of support, you're seen as, it cripples you. People look at you differently, and it is an attack, not necessarily that you're on yourself, but it's an attack on your manhood. The way people perceive you, the way people treat you after you express that. So that's one of the reasons why it's hard for a lot of brothers to come out and openly admit that they struggle with their mental health, that they have issues, because people look at you, quite frankly, like you're less than. And it's a struggle. It's a big struggle for people. So, and I know they can affect their outlook, their interactions with other people, and it can affect how they view themselves as well. Their self-worth, their self-esteem, all of that.
So, why is having any type of mental quote-unquote issue, why is that even considered a bad thing?
Well, the way that mental health, especially here in the United States, is looked at is mental health is a kind of a negative buzzword in itself. Anytime someone mentions mental health, usually is something negative behind it. Instead of talking about things like preserving mental health and fostering, positive mental health is always followed by something like medication, some kind of psychiatric treatment, or committing, oneself to an institution or something like that. So that's the main thing. And so if you're a man and you're admitting that, and you have struggled with your mental health, you can't admit it, and you can't really talk to many people about it. So it makes you just quite literally you have all this internal conflict with yourself because you can't talk to anybody about it. You don't have any support, and society is saying that if you want to do that, you'll have to admit that something's wrong with you.
I will say this, and this is a plea, brothers. I actually have been going through counseling since the age of 21, and I got real serious with it at the age of 23. And the truth of the matter is, there are things that I have experienced in my life that were a little difficult and a little challenging that I still deal with today. So yes, there are certain things that you will get over like that, but there are certain things that will linger with you. And I will say that I am better because of mental health. The mental health industry, I do think that counseling, I do think speaking to someone, and right now alternative health, in addition to mental health, has grown. It has grown so much that there are so many different ways to receive the help and the guidance that you need. And to be honest, I don't know where I would be or what state I would be in had it not been for the effectiveness and the utilization of mental health.
Yeah.
So if you're dealing with something that you just can't seem to shake, or something that is weighing you down, it's okay to seek help. And maybe the problem is, and why it's so taboo, is because we're talking to the wrong ones. Meaning, we're talking to the ones who are not licensed professionals. We're talking to the ones who can't understand or diagnose or examine these symptoms. And so we call it somebody's feeling low, or going through the motions, or having, he's always been quick-tempered, or he always had anger problems, or he's always been an emotional someone. So it's so many different reasons why maybe not talking to those that you're connected to, not to keep something away from them, but sometimes talking about mental health issues with those who are connected with you, they just don't know.
Right. Yeah.
They just don't know how to help you.
Yep.
And so you want to be able to reach out. You want to be able to find that place where you can get the help that you need. And don't be ashamed. If you don't know anybody that's a male who has taken advantage of mental health, know that you have me. I am a guy who has utilized mental health since the age of 23, really started at 21. So that's almost 20 years of mental health, and it's actually a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. So we do have a couple of comments. So Ben, his first comment was, what's an example of negative masculinity? I'll say, Ben, an example of negative masculinity would be, there's plenty of that. Look in movies to where you have fathers and their sons, and when their sons get into a fight, if they're going through something, their father says, toughen up or man up, or, you're not a woman, or you don't be a girl, or anything like that. That is a textbook example of negative masculinity on a bunch of fronts. You're attaching negative traits to being a woman, and then you're also pushing aside issues that another male, your son, or even just another brother is having. So that's a big example of negative masculinity, and it happens quite often, too often actually. It's where a lot of the issues that we as men, a lot of where the issues start, and those things can come from both parents, either parent. It can come from your father, or it can come also from your mother as well. But we're talking about men, so that's why I use fathers.
I definitely will say that because a lot when we're talking about brother empowerment, yes, we're brothers empowering brothers, but it is a collective thing,
Right.
and so we don't ever want this to seem like, oh, it's only for brothers. No, we need our sisters to help us as well. And I can say one of the biggest negative masculinity traits that I always see, we always call something that is not traditionally or stereotypical male, we always say that's gay.
Yep. Yep.
We talk about homosexuality as if it makes a man less than because he's a homosexual.
Yeah.
When being a man and a sexual orientation are two totally different things. And so if we use something as a jab or an insult, it's toxic. If we say don't cry like a little girl, now we're saying it's bad to be a little girl.
Correct.
So we got to think about the messages that we're sending, or we always are telling our young men they're the man of the house. Mm-hmm. No, he's the boy of the house. Yep. He needs to grow. He needs to develop and become a man, but allow him to be a child. Stop adding added pressure to our boys, even at a young age. And this comes on both sides of the spectrum.
Correct. Yeah.
We love or we hug or we expect girls to be gentle and soft and get expressive with their emotions, whereas we tell our men to stop crying, stop complaining, stop this, stop that. What we're really doing is silencing our brothers, and we're showing them how to suppress their issues, and so a lot of times they lash out. A lot of these incidents where it becomes domestic violence is because there is some disdain for our sisters, because the sisters can express themselves and get it out. And a lot of our men have been suppressing that anger for so long, they take it out on the ones that are closest to them or the ones who exhibit the behaviors that they wish that they could exhibit. So that's toxic or negative masculinity, and that's also how it can negatively impact all of us. When someone loses control, that damages everyone who is involved with that. And so, yes, it's easy. A person can be, quote unquote, the victim and the aggressor, and we still got to deal with the aggression that is caused in that moment. So anything that is stereotypical that we relate to being a man, but it causes one to act negatively towards another gender, towards another of the same sex, but one of a different orientation, one of a different religion, one of a different class group. It's so many different things. If it causes, whatever that stereotype is, if that causes you to damage another based off of any classification, it really is negative masculinity. Yep,
exactly. We have a few more comments. First of all, Carissa and Marquise said hi.
Hey,
y'all. How y'all doing? So I'm gonna read Tara's comment before because Ben made another comment, but I'm gonna read Tara's first. So
okay.
She said some mental health is generational, very, very big fact. And she said, I think having to say your fathers were broken and unpacking all that is deep. Of course, it definitely is. Unfortunately, some issues in the mental health capacity can be passed down from generation, and that's why you have some fathers who raise who bring their sons up the same way their fathers brought them up, and so on and so forth. And it's just passing down that toxicity through each generation. It's a toxic generational heirloom. You're just passing it down. I get mine from my father, or even my mother, or an uncle, or a grandfather. Jay gets his from the same way, and we're just passing it down until we decide to break the cycle.
I definitely agree with that. A lot of times we pass on that which is broken versus passing on the process. A lot of times, like when you think about it, one of the things that I do like that my wife and I do, if we have an argument, we believe in finishing that. Like if we have an argument in front of the children, we believe in finishing that argument in front of the children. The reason being is that we have to show the full cycle. Meaning, yes, there will be times that you will get upset. Yes, there will be times that you may do something unseemly. But you have to show how to reconcile that because people need to see that. And a lot of times what we do is act out publicly and then make up behind closed doors. And this is even with parent to child. Like, we will reprimand a child publicly, but then we will make up privately, but no one sees that other side. So all of us have to work on completing the cycle.
Yep.
Because it may be passing on brokenness to brokenness because we never saw the other part of it.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? I'm going to go up to Ben's comment. He said, so how do we further attack and dismantle the stigma? Quite frankly, I've hardly ever come across black men who don't show signs of some level of mental health deficiency. I think that there are several things that go into that statement. Because we diagnose mental health differently. And truth be told, a lot of people who really have certain symptoms, no one would really know because it became part of their normal routine.
Correct. Yeah.
And we shouldn't compare it based off of another person. Like, for instance, I suffer from clinical depression. My depression is totally different than somebody else. So, like, the way that I respond to my depression, no one really would see, and no one would ever know when I'm really depressed. So it's so many different ways that we can look at this, and it's so many different ways to unpack it. The very first thing that I would say to dismantle it is stop giving it a face.
Correct.
Let's not give mental health a face. Let's not give mental health an identity and allow it to be individualized based on the individuals that it impacts.
Yep. I agree 100%.
Okay. So we had some more comments. Marquis said, hey, I know you said that one already. We got So True from Karen. And then she had another comment where she said, right, he was only a child for 17 years. He has the rest of his life to be an adult.
Yep.
Why do men push boys to grow up so fast? My son's father thinks my son is too childish, but he is only 7. Isn't he supposed to be like that?
Ooh, yeah. I'll go ahead and tackle that one.
Okay, go ahead.
Also, I'm not being rude, y'all. I'm just I'm tagging other people into the discussion of sharing this, so I'm not being rude to my brother. Just want to tell people that.
Oh, you're fine.
So, yeah, as far as sons pushing their fathers to grow up, first of all, in my opinion, I think that's a thing that is an issue with society in general, with pushing people to grow up and to mature faster than their natural progression allows. But with fathers with their sons, I think, again, it's part of the generational, depending on how, that brother's father came up. He may have had to do things at an earlier age than he was ready for. So if he had to do, it's kind of like it's a Herculean toxic gauntlet. I like to look at it as, well, I had to do it, so you have to do it. It doesn't matter if it damaged me and I'm still scarred. You're gonna have to do it because that's what I had to go through. So one of the things that some fathers do is they mirror the same kind of trauma that they experience, that they put that onto their sons. And as far as unconsciously trying to make them grow up, it's, I guess, a passage of manhood that is not necessarily positive at all. Trying to get young men to grow up before they're ready, or not even before they're ready, but just so ahead of their time, damages them. And I think that most of it is trauma based for a lot of men. Because they endured it, they're just going to pass it down.
I will say this too. Depending on the culture, depending on the ethnicity, and when we talk about culture, there are subcultures within our culture.
Yep.
Some of them I could use the guy who raised me, who I consider my dad. He raised me and my brothers to be tough, but his whole thing was survival first.
Right.
And but Dad told us that he loved us. So it was survival first. I think a lot of it depends heavily on communication.
Yeah.
I believe that we sometimes think someone understands us because we live with them or we're connected to them or because we're of the same gender.
Right.
But the truth of the matter is we have to start talking more.
Yeah.
We have to have those conversations of saying, hey, I'm showing you this because.
Yes.
And so that way a healthy dialogue can take place versus someone assuming or damaging someone in the process that you may be attempting to help.
Yeah.
So Reginald, Lord asked the question, could I expound more on when you say don't give mental health a face?
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I say don't give mental health a face, because my mental health challenges may be different from the next one.
Yep.
And so you can assess mental health based on how one person carries it or how one person should act just because they may or may not be impacted by mental health. And what we tend to do a lot of time is make comparisons.
Mm-hmm.
We will say, nothing is wrong with that child.
Yep.
He just acting out.
Yep.
Or we knew somebody who really had PTSD. They kill themselves.
Yeah.
Do you want to kill yourself? See, we don't need to do that.
Yep.
Because mental health is different based on the person who's going through it. And I'm so glad that we actually do have licensed certified counselors on the line. Reverend Angel is on now, Only Livingston, and she actually is certified and she's credentialed. So she's in the box. So if we want to ask more specific questions, you can. But I also used to work in behavioral health as a mental health therapist. And that's one of the things that we used to tell our residents is that your journey is your journey. We don't need to compare it, and let's stop putting a face on mental health and let mental health be tailored to that person who's dealing with that.
Yeah.
Because we gotta break, and it goes back to previous conversations. It becomes a competition for some people to show how broken or show how hurt they are when really they should be focusing on treatment.
Yep.
And if you see someone exhibiting those behaviors, you don't want to be a trigger for that person. So a lot of times we will say, oh, you have a mental health issue, and we're really doing it in a way of not helping, but breaking a person down so a person will reject that treatment. So when we're talking about don't give a face to it, allow people to have their own identity. At the end of the day, I'm Jay. I'm not PTSD. I'm not OCD. I'm not anxiety. I'm not depression. I'm just Jay. And so we got to change the whole face or stop putting a face on mental health and allow people to get the treatment and the things that they deserve.
Exactly.
I'm pretty sure that a lot of us coming up as young people, when we identified someone who was troubled or had something, they were dealing with some kind of trauma, when they exhibited certain behaviors, we said, oh, that's Cordell, he's crazy, or he's got, he gets mad at certain things, or something's wrong with him. And we have to change the culture of, instead of saying that something's wrong with that person, we have to show, especially our younger kids and whatnot, that they're going through something. They may have some kind of trauma that they're processing. So something's not wrong with them, and we need to actually be a helping hand or an ear for them instead of stigmatizing them. And
we treat physical health different from mental health. If it's something that someone can see, we treat them differently. And it almost like we add layers to it, like, okay, levels to it, like something is not really wrong with him. Something is kind of wrong with him. And we got to get out of that. If we're not licensed professionals, we need to stay in our lane. And we also, and here's the other thing, we have to talk about this because we do have people who are extreme in their religion, extreme in their faith, and we try to tell people to pray some things away or trust an unlicensed professional, meaning it's great that you trust your pastor, it's great that that pastor leads, it's great that that minister leads and have done great things, but at the end of the day, that minister, that leader, that religious figure, whoever it is, isn't a licensed professional. And if you want to be honest, you may have been praying for a solution, and the solution could lie in a mental health professional.
Yeah, exactly.
So we want to be careful about things that we say. It's great to pray. I'm not denouncing anybody's religion or trying to say that any practices that you have are invalid. But what I am saying is don't slight mental health professionals because they may not be religious or have a religious affiliation. We want to make sure that we treat mental health as we treat any other health thing. We don't say the same thing about the doctors. We don't say the same thing about the anesthesiologists. We don't say the same thing about the nurses. So we gotta stop treating mental health as a whole as if it's a hoax. Karen said, do you think the line of what is considered normal has changed over the years?
Most definitely. So I say this quite often when I'm speaking about especially generational issues, and as when people talk about the behavior of quote unquote millennials and baby boomers and this and that. So, you know, I am a millennial, and if you're up to the age of, I believe, 38, you are also a millennial. One of the things,
some of us are 39.
One of the things I will say is that people can say what they will about social media and and the millennial generation and the generation coming up. I believe they're called Generation X. But this generation is using social media to have all of these very, very important conversations and peeling back these layers that have festered and kind of just bled for so long. So I definitely will say, Karen, that the definition of quote unquote normal has definitely went through a transformation, and we're realizing that normal is not black and white. It is very nuanced, and it has quite a few different little boxes and things of that nature. So normal can be what normal is to one person, or 10,000 people can be different to other people. So to answer your question, yes, normal has changed over the past 10, even 5 years.
Yeah, I would actually say the same thing. I think that normal is relative, and there's also several different variables that one would have to take into account. Like the normal, say for instance, the normal function in my house may be chaos in your house. And so we have to, I think that goes back to those deconstructing social constructs. Allow people to just be. Organically, we are free beings, and so a lot of times we explore our boundaries. That doesn't mean something is necessarily wrong with you. This is why we go back to letting the mental health professionals determine that. Allow people to be them, and if you feel like, if you're a parent and you feel like the one that or you're a caregiver and you feel like the one that you're providing care for needs help, well, allow a professional to do that. Don't diagnose yourself, and don't allow somebody else to diagnose who is not a professional. Get the treatment, get what you deserve. And this is what I like, speaking about normal. The stereotype environments of mental health have changed so much. You can go to so many different places that are comfortable. Yeah, you got some that have a couch. You got some that even look like a house. Like my counselor, it looked like I'm in a living room. So when we're sitting down talking, it looked like we're watching TV and having a conversation. So there's so many different ways. And so with normal, I think that normal has always been relative. But I think what is happening now is that we're forcing people to understand that your normal is not my normal.
Correct. Absolutely.
And we had Rhonda.
Miss Barnes, who's a teacher I had in middle school. Hi, Miss Barnes.
Hey, Miss Barnes.
So she said, agreed. We have 4 LCSWs and LM.
Licensed certified social workers.
Okay. And I'm not sure.
Licensed mental health clinicians.
Okay. In our K-8 school, and they are clinicians. They do not schedule. They do not scheduling and random paperwork. They work with kids and their mental health needs, and that's great. And I think that's. I like the word. I use the word dope all the time. That's exceptionally dope.
I use dope too.
No, that is excellent. She also said that I think we are finally recognizing trauma for what it is, especially for men of color. I would say that's very much the case, 1,000%, and it's very important because while we talk to all brothers, the men of color or black men, I believe the magnifying glass, especially for some issues that we're talking about with toxic masculinity and such, it's very much on them more so than it is on other groups, simply because of social constructs and of just trauma that's being passed down from generation to generation. So I definitely agree, Ms. Barnes. Definitely.
Okay, Ben is coming back. You gotta know Ben. Ben is my little cousin, y'all, so it's funny every time he writes, but he's very articulate and very educated.
Yeah.
Ben says, I'm not a licensed professional, but I have had the opportunity to read some things, have clear connections, in some instances, certain responses or lack thereof, behaviors can show signs of mental health instability. I get what you're saying. And you know me, I must stay true to that. Yes, you're very intelligent. Yes, you have those signs. But the reason why I say that is when in the state of South Carolina, for instance, mental health and behavioral health separated. Mm-hmm. Behavioral health is modifiable. Mental health is something that you learn to live with. It's something that never really goes away. You just learn to live with it. So the reason why they may exhibit behaviors, and it may just be behaviors.
Right.
It may not necessarily be mental health, and that's why we have mental health professionals to deal with that. And I think here again, not saying you, but I think most people, when they talk about mental health or saying someone needs help, they're usually doing it from a judge perspective or a jab. Meaning like either they're judging like you crazy or you need help or not really coming to them in a place of love. Mm-hmm. And I think that changes everything because I can almost, a lot of the experiences that I've had when we talk about mental health is always done in a negative light.
Right. And
even when I self-disclose some of my challenges, it's you don't look like you need help.
Yeah, that's a big one.
You don't act like anything is wrong with you. Like, hold on, wait a minute. So these are the things that we're talking about. It goes a little bit deeper.
Right.
And we want to make sure that when we're talking about brother empowerment, we're uplifting a person, encouraging a person to pursue mental health and not condemning them and judging them because any person, for one, will rebel against something that they don't identify with. And so we don't want to throw the masculinity hat on top of it. Oh, you're a man to think you don't need mental health? No, it might have had nothing to do with masculinity as much as it had to do with being insultive to a certain degree.
Yeah.
So
Tara,
Ms. Barnes said it is a priority for us.
Which is excellent. And she said her school is in Boston, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Which is way too cold, but, hey, that's great.
Well, come on down south, Ms. Barnes.
So Tara said, unfortunately, many of our people believe preventative and coping lifestyles are only for other people. Yoga, creative outlets, meditation, etc. Affordable ways to help before medication or expensive care is needed. Or can go better hand in hand. I definitely agree. One of the things that I ask people, friends, or even strangers that I come into contact with who, when we're having conversation, they say they're going through a tough time, they have some trauma they're coping with, or especially brothers when they say they're, certain things trigger them, or they just have, they have some aggression that need to get out. One of the first things that I ask my brothers is, do you have an outlet to let all of that out? Do you have a positive, constructive outlet to get all of that energy and all of that frustration, all of that stress out so that you can release and clear your mind and clear your body? Because as we all know, stress affects the body in various ways. So I definitely think, Terry, you're right on the money with saying that different things that we should explore different things like yoga, like art, or or sports, or anything like that as a positive way to let go of stress and to cope with trauma and all of that.
And I will say this: what a lot of people don't know is that the healthcare model changed around 2009 with the Obama administration, where it went from treat and diagnose to prevention and care. So that's when there was a boom in alternative healthcare, a boom in preventative care, and things like that. So yes, it has changed, but unfortunately, we're dealing with so many different generations that some are still old school and are looking at it a little bit differently.
Yeah.
But the face and the identity associated with preventive care has changed a lot. And I think that it is changing, and I think that we have to. Speaking of which, because art therapy is another one
Correct.
that a lot of people don't talk about. There's art therapy, there's music therapy, there's poetry therapy, there's aromatherapy. There's so many other alternatives that are out there that will help, that we need to shed light on. And I think that that's where true empowerment comes from, when we show them that there is a different route, but also having a conversation about it, like what we're doing now, and what you guys are saying, because there are people who are watching who may not be saying anything, but they are observing the comments and they're grateful for the things that you guys are saying, because it may just help them and it may just encourage them to pursue other outlets. You know what I mean?
For sure. You never know who's watching or who's taking the information in. So I definitely agree.
Okay, and then the last topic or suggestion was when someone was talking about financial literacy. Before we get into that, Karen Joyner said a lot of people don't have outlets, nor do they recognize their triggers. And Mrs. Barnes said, is there any reading you would recommend? Of course, Ms. Barnes.
I unfortunately don't have anything that I recommend. I'll let you handle that, Jay.
Well, I don't want to tell myself, like, I used to actually be a college instructor. And because I taught in behavioral health, I actually am a journal reader. I read a lot of journals, and I actually read a lot of mental health journals. And also what I sign up with is there is a group that it's for men. Mental health is 1 in 6. That actually talks about men who have been victims of sexual assault, sexual abuse. And they have a lot of literature on their site, but I actually read a lot of journals. So I would recommend you reading, but I know you read a lot for that.
Yes, Ms. Barnes, I do.
Empower him, Ms. Barnes. So I'm a journal reader. I'm not. I can't lie. I tell you that I haven't read books since grad school, like a full book. I am a journal person. I like to kind of get it that way. So I'm a big fan of 1 in 6, and I can't think of the other one that I thought. Oh, All Pro Dads. I subscribe to 1 in 6 and All Pro Dads, because they are targeted to helping and empowering men as a whole. And they always provide some type of literature that, and references that you probably don't think about, and that you actually could help. And then Fatherhood Coalition, that's the other one.
Okay. So 1 in 6.
1 in 6.
Fatherhood Coalition and All Pro Dads.
And All Pro Dads. They actually are the ones that do Donuts with Dads a lot too.
Okay.
So they're behind that initiative as well.
Excellent.
So now, financial literacy. I think that'll be the last topic. Yep, because we got 15 minutes. Financial literacy.
How do we want to start?
Financial literacy is, I would say, financial stress is a big factor in a lot of people's lives. So financial literacy, I know for myself, I'll start there. The foundation of my financial literacy came from my parents, my mother and my father. So my mom I always say that my mom, I don't know, she may still be watching, and I'll apologize in advance, Mom. I love you.
You're a great person.
I always call my mom Scrooge McDuck with the coins, because my mom is basically an accountant, and she's very, very diligent with keeping track of her finances, and she's very goal oriented. So she always had different books and different things to tell me, a lot of gems to drop me about financial literacy. A lot of people don't have that though. So financial literacy, I will say, is a major key, because if you have proper financial literacy, you can alleviate a lot of stress from your life. Because a lot of us have been through not having, money. Some people have been, flat out broke, and I know you can remember, if you've been through that kind of thing, how it made you feel. So financial literacy, I'll start from there, is definitely important. And if you don't get it at home, you don't have that base at home, you have to go out and get it. Whether you have a mentor, whether you read books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or things of that nature. So it's extremely important. And it's in the age of social media, you can go out and find the information more readily than you've ever been able to, in the age of information, in the age of social media and the internet.
I will actually say this. If I'm being 100% transparent and honest,
of course, always.
This is actually an area that I need a mentor with. I think that I've been doing pretty good with my finances, but I still feel like I'm in survival mode. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like I'm in living mode and I have something in place. And I also feel like it goes back to, the social construct of don't want to have people in your business.
Right, yeah.
And the truth of the matter is, I don't care if you're in my business, be in all my business, as long as you're going to help me. And mm-hmm. so I do think that there needs to be more men to step up to talk to one another about financial literacy and not just saying, oh, you need to be fiduciarily responsible.
Correct.
Show us certain things. It's like, for me, I have 2 houses, one in North Carolina, one in South Carolina. How can I flip that and how can I get more money? How can I set up stuff for my children? How can I set up stuff for my retirement? I don't know. But it would be great if we had it. And to be honest, growing up, there wasn't a lot of conversations about it. I remember my dad told me, he said, we're going to get you a checking account. And you put your money, a savings account. You put your money in that savings and you save it and don't touch it. Well, I still got that checking in that savings account, but there were things that I didn't learn that I wish that I knew, because I hate making a mistake and saying, dog, I wish somebody would have showed me that. So yeah, I do believe that there should be some type of mentorship going on. So again, brothers, if you know people, if you're one who understands finances, empower and help us, show us. Mm-hmm. Tell us what we need to do in a way that is also practical, and realizing that we all have different understanding. I remember I went to a workshop and the guy gave all of these handouts, but to be honest, I was like, I need to, does this come with a thesaurus so I can understand these words and these abbreviations and what they mean? Yeah, so we need something to show, a glossary. We need something to show us what this means, and not just talking over our head. Talk to us. Help us to understand exactly what needs to be done. My brother laughing because he know Dad did that. Miss Barnes said she had to log off.
Yeah, she said, I jump off. This has been informative. I'm proud of you. Thank you, Miss Barnes. She probably didn't see this, but I'll send it to her. She said, I was one of the most inquisitive students she's ever taught. I did ask a lot of questions, but they were, questions that were, I really wanted to learn, though. I wasn't just trying to disrupt the class.
I'm jealous, Ms. Barnes. Why are you only proud of Cordell?
I'm gonna ask her. I'm gonna shoot her a question in the inbox. You proud of Jay too, right? So
Tara said financial stress can lessen by establishing health measures of success. How to set financial goals that make life better and not stress out men.
Yeah. Hey, Felicia. 1 second. Felicia said hi.
Oh, hey Felicia. Well, Tara, we agree with you.
Yeah.
And what we're saying here is that, like, I'm not gifted in that area. Mm-hmm. And maybe we could get somebody on here that can help with that. Yeah, we need help with that. We agree with you. And it's probably a taboo subject because a lot of us don't know.
Yep.
And we're trying to really figure that out. You know what I mean? So I definitely agree with you.
Yeah, it can definitely be stressful for brothers because as a man, society says you're supposed to provide, and even your own family and friends tell you you're supposed to provide. So essentially, the idea is that you're supposed to always have money, always have resources. And it's kind of hard to do that if you don't have the know-how to one, to acquire those resources aside from just working, because you can work and not have resources. We call it the working poor all the time. We don't get too far into that, but so you can work and not have money. You can work and be broke, but real financial literacy to where you actually know how money works or know how certain things work and know how to make your resources work for you or put them in a place where they can work for you is important, and it's definitely important for brothers because stress, like I said, stress does things to you. It can give you heart attacks, lead to early death. So, and in this society, especially here in America, money, and I will quote Kanye as far as that may be troublesome for some people. But
I'm joking.
Early Kanye, college dropout Kanye. He said, Kanye said in the song, money isn't everything, but not having it is. And that line has always stuck with me. The first time I heard that line stuck with me because it's true. Money isn't everything inherently. It's not. But when you don't have it, especially as a man, when you don't have it, you are just, people, they look at you like you're quote unquote, something wrong with you or quote unquote crazy. You don't have any money? You're broke? What's wrong with you? Go out and get some money. How? I work, but I don't, like Jay said, we don't have any knowledge. Not us in general, but we're just saying, so.
Yeah, help us out. Pastor Darlene Hopkins Thorne said, good evening. Good evening. Tell her good evening, Cordell.
Hi, good evening.
I think that this is where there is a plea. Like, for instance, we were challenged to do the brother empowerment.
That's correct.
So we're doing it. I think that we have to work on being intentional supporters because there are a lot of things that we don't know. But there are resources that you guys have collectively. Some of you know, like Cordell just talked about his mom being an accountant.
Not an actual accountant, okay? But she has the accountant tendencies.
Oh, look at him. He cleaning it up now.
She's not a CPA, so do not, she's in the military, but she's not a CPA.
Okay, kind of cleaned it up a little bit. But anyway, having, if you're connected to an accountant, if you're connected to a CPA, if you're connected to a mental health specialist or a mental health professional, bring that to the community, bring that to the village. The only way that we can uplift and empower one another is if we have the resources.
Right, correct.
I can tell you now, this is actually a great time. In March of 2019, we're going to do a brother empowerment cookout. Woo! We're going to do a brother empowerment cookout where we're just going to have a good time, have some fun, encourage and uplift one another, and just be in the presence of food, music, and a good time. Yes. But the truth of the matter is, we don't have the resources. So it's going to have to come from the community.
Yeah.
And we're going to need your help in doing that. And so, like, sharing these videos or connecting with people, you guys know people.
Yep.
You know people that I don't know. You know people that Cordell doesn't know. Help us empower others by helping us and being intentional supporters.
Yep.
We want to make sure that we're getting to that point where you say that there is a need. Well, help fulfill that need. Because if you don't help fulfill the need, technically, you're part of the problem.
Yep. Yep.
Let me see. Pastor Thorne, she's laughing and she said, oh, so now you are doing something that the sisters can't come to, huh? No, we're not like you. We're not sexist.
On the contrary, we
welcome
all the sisters. Every single one of you.
See, we got you back, Pastor. But still save a place for us.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Definitely. So,
Lord, you ain't got to crash something you invited to.
Exactly. How does that work?
We need to change. Y'all are too aggressive. We need to talk about this. We'll talk about this aggressive behavior on our next show.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter, guys, is we need your help. If you want us to continue to do this and you really think this is informative, you really think that this is helping people, if you feel like it is helping you, we need your help. We need your connections. We need your support. And the only way that we're going to impact and make a positive impact and change some of those narratives that you're tired of hearing is by you helping, is by you supporting.
That's correct. People are a resource. The community is full of resources, and we all should support each other. We want to support you. We want to support y'all. We want y'all to support us so we can all support each other.
And so one of the things that we do want to say, leaving this every night, because it's almost time to wrap up, is that, guys, we want you to think about these things. Don't just come here and have the conversation, because all of us are part of the bigger issue.
Right.
And so we need to have these conversations with one another, not being ashamed of them, but also fixing some of the behaviors that we may have. Mm-hmm. Anything you want to lead the people to empower them with?
What I want to say, I think Jay said everything, you know, being the smart, intelligent,
shut up,
powerful brother that he is. But, and I mean that, by the way. What I would just say is what I have said the past couple times that we've been on, is that I encourage all brothers out there to be open, to support your brothers, the ones that you're close to, the ones you do know, or even the ones that you don't know all that well. Because the issues that we face them together, whether you know it or not, whether it's right now or later, we face them all together. And the only way that we can actually overcome these issues is if we come together and we break down the walls one by one. So I will just say that I appreciate everybody for supporting us, for liking, for sharing, for listening in, and for actually going out after this is over and actually doing and supporting. And that's it. I love y'all.
Yep, and I'll say definitely I love you. I love you guys. I think that you guys are incredible. And I just want you to know that you are enough now. Mm-hmm. A lot of times we think that we have to do more to be enough, but the truth of the matter is you are enough now. Mm-hmm. And so this is not anything about what you're doing wrong. This is about all of us becoming better, meaning becoming better individuals to deal with life, because life does throw us some curveballs sometimes. So we want to empower one another and equip one another, and we're learning. Mm-hmm. Cordell and I are learning. We're not coming to you as experts. We're coming to you as brothers mm-hmm. that just want to make a change. Yep. And we're not sure how we can make that change, but at least giving a voice to the need to make a change, it may help and it may impact someone. So I definitely want you guys to know that, and just know that you are enough, and we love you guys. Yep. All right, tune in every Thursday for our Brother Empowerment. If you have any questions, our inboxes are always open. Always. Please make sure that you follow us on all social media platforms. Make sure that you share and like our page. Yep. Liking our page does help to spread that message. Somebody just reached out to me the other day, and she said, I don't know who you are, but if you're promoting love and random acts of kindness, I know that I need to have you in my circle. Mm. So people are looking for love and looking to be loved. Pastor Darlene said, all jokes aside, what did she say? We need, let me see. We need to do, no, that's not what she said. She said, we need you brothers to survive for real. Yes. And she also said earlier, I think she said, where is it? We need each other somewhere. Hey, yes, hug it out. And then Benjamin said, love this. It literally informs and lends a broader perspective. Thanks again. You're most certainly welcome. Yeah. And Tara said, oh, hey, Dion. And he already said it for me. But Tara said, definitely. But women have plenty of opportunities for support. We can cook out, but they need to learn how to spend time with men.
In men healthy only company. So yeah, that definitely is a thing too that we'll touch on next time, which is men and women being able to be around each other and interact without there being some kind of I'll say it, sexual tension or physical attraction. Healthy, I guess we can say platonic, but healthy, just generally informative and supportive interactions and company is something definitely that a lot of brothers need to know and need to experience. So I will say that, Tara, that's definitely true.
Right. Well, we love you guys. Have a good night. If you're traveling, because some people are starting to travel, if you're traveling, be safe, be careful, and call somebody that you haven't talked to in a while, or text someone that you're thinking about, and just let them know that you love them and let them know that you're there for them. All right? We love you guys. Good night.
Good night. Hey, Jennifer. We watched the video.